Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo.
On this episode of the History of the Chorus podcast with Curtis and Josh, we take a look at the band from Columbus, Ohio, known as Symphony In Peril. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurvivedByPro for news and the latest episode postings. And make sure to subscribe to the show, leave us a 5-star review, and write us a comment on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using. Make sure to check us out on TikTok and give us a follow at IsSurvivedByProductions. And if you'd like to see us do some live streams, leave us a comment or tweet us the keyword stream. Now, without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta, army surrounded.
Your eyes pierce right through me, unveiling the hidden elusiveness within. These patterns you witness have become my crutch. Your eyes are your ammunition. Your gaze is killing me, a substantial blood loss that is not my own, and it is pouring out of me. This assault will bring me strength, increasing stability, not to collapse. This is a dagger to the heart and relinquishing torture. But this soon will assemble me. You murder face to face. Welcome back to the History of the Chorus podcast, sponsored by the Church of the Seven Track, where each and every episode we take a look at the history of a band from the core genre. I'm Curtis. With me, as always, it's my co-host Josh. What up? Are you on mute? Yeah, you're on mute.
Hey, Curtis. You murder face to face.
Face to face. No, you murder.
You
face
murder face to face.
No, you murder face to face.
That song goes so hard.
That's a good song, man. That's a good one. Yeah. What's going on, Josh? How's your Sunday?
Pretty good Sunday.
Okay.
You and I the other day were talking about you sent me a link to that Stick to Your Guns. I'm going to do quotations here for the just audio only listeners documentary. What a piss poor 10-minute piece of crap. 10 minutes, my friend. Let me give a little plug here. Stick to Your Guns did a podcast. They mostly put out episodes over COVID, and it was George, the drummer. Damn, dude! It looks like they might have pulled him.
Uh-oh.
Let me double check here real quick.
Any idea why they would have pulled him? I know there was some stuff with what's the lead singer's name?
I don't remember.
I know there was some stuff that was kind of controversial that some like comments that he made about like the Ukraine war or something like that got him in some hot water for a little bit there. But
yeah, I don't see it. That's not a good sign. I was going to give.
Has been canceled.
Well, I should have looked at this before I was going to talk about it, but
so that documentary was going to be an hour long, but apparently they had to censor 90 or 50 minutes of it, and now it's just down to 10 minutes.
Is that a joke?
That's a joke. I'm just joking.
Okay. I was like, are you reading that?
No, I'm just joking.
You learn more in the podcast that they did about the band and where the band's been, the writing process, all that kind of stuff.
Well, you did
a lot more in
at one point. You did
10 episodes of that podcast, and I did from that. All they did, this was like this is one guy from the band, and Oh yeah, man, we've had some tough times out there, but it's just I don't know. It was kind of lame. Jesse. Jesse is the vocalist's name. I don't know why that just came to me.
Hmm.
I also noticed.
Do you think it's gonna be like an episode release though? Like little 10-minute episodes or something?
I don't know. That kind of seemed like the whole thing.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I haven't watched it. So
But George isn't with the band anymore.
oh, okay.
And so I kind of wondered what that was about, but I like George as their drummer, and I didn't really care for the dude that they have in his spot right now. They're just kind of like meh.
Just don't like his style.
Yeah.
Okay. Hmm.
So I don't know, but I was gonna say,
I mean,
yeah, go over and listen to the few episodes of that podcast that there are. It might still be on YouTube, but I don't see it on Spotify anywhere. I think it was called the Against Them All podcast.
Did you look it up by the wrong name for a second there?
Yeah, I think I looked it up just by
stick to your guns or whatever.
Yeah.
Did you find it?
No.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it might have gotten pulled, but
okay. I mean, check YouTube sometime. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just gonna say it was kind of disappointing. Like I figured it was gonna be some good sized doc that they put some time into.
I mean, you would think because like think about
maybe it's gonna be episodic, but it did not feel like it at all.
Yeah, I mean, think about how long they've been around. Early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have history there to talk about. So I don't know. I mean, it's like just kind of do it like Zayo did with Lesser Lights of Heaven, told from the band's perspective, or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, Josh, we had a brand new episode of the History of the Corps After Hours podcast come out this past week. It was about the band Cancer Bats. And right now, we're going to show you a small preview from that episode. Check it out. A big old movie studio has decided they are going to put the money up and back a Life of Josh movie. If you're not familiar, Josh is my co-host on the Pop podcast, the father of this very podcast right here, the History of the Chorus podcast. They are making a movie about his life. It's entitled The Life of Josh. Eric, my question to you is, who plays Josh? No, let's hear. Who plays the Josh narrator at an old age, and then who plays Josh at a young age?
So I enjoyed this question.
Okay.
Got me thinking about, long times past.
It's a good, yeah.
So I went with young Josh. We'll start with young Josh.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
I don't know if you say it Sheen or Sean, but Sheen Flynn.
Who?
And his character was Chase from Zoe 101.
Oh my gosh. No, the fro, the hair. Oh no, bro. Dude.
Because when Josh was young, he always had that kind of fluffy thing going on too.
Yes, he did. Oh my gosh.
I thought you'd enjoy that.
I'm looking at photos now. Oh my gosh. That is perfect. Oh, dude. Oh my goodness. Wasn't that just great, Josh?
That was fantastic.
I was almost on the verge of tears because it was just so beautiful. Just so great. Josh, did you get to listen to that episode this week?
I did.
Any beef?
I don't.
Where's the beef?
I don't think I have any beef. I would say that if I was picking people to play me in a movie, I might have gone with the Timothée Chalamet for the young me.
You did. You did go with Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah. So I agree with that. But
so you're saying you agree with yourself because that's what you said.
I agree with me. And then I think my narrator as an old man, I've got two that I think would be funny. I think Sam Elliott would be good.
I think you've already said that.
Did I say were those my two original picks?
I think those are. I know Timothy was, but I can't remember who. I want to say it was Sam Elliott. Maybe who was the other name?
Yeah, I mean, I like what Eric said. I like the idea of Ryan Reynolds, but I don't think that would fit at all. That would just be so weird.
Yeah, who was the
Um,
other name you had?
the other one that I just thought would be funny would be Ron Howard.
Oh my
They do
gosh.
everything like Arrested Development, you know?
Nice. That'd be hilarious. Yeah.
And that's when
He
Josh decided that he had to make a change.
he really caught me off guard with the that I don't even remember, was Sean Flynn? Is that what it was?
Yeah,
Sean Flynn, whatever. I was like, who the
that
heck are you
show
talking
was a
about?
little, yeah, I'm like, that was a little after my time.
Yeah, but that's okay because he looks like you with the hair. I
Yeah,
have picture proof. Do I need to bring the picture into this
nah,
episode?
let's not.
Okay, maybe for a future episode. But just know, I always have that photo, so don't mess with me. All right. Hey, Josh, what'd you listen to this week?
God forbid you show somebody my luscious locks.
Beautiful locks. Yeah. What'd you listen to this week, Josh?
Mostly just Symphony in Peril.
I forgot I was
Um,
in space. I forgot to change my background. Oh my gosh. Anyway, go ahead.
I
Just
don't
Symphony
even,
in Peril. That's it.
yeah, pretty much. I listened to Serpent Servant once. But yeah, not really a whole lot this week. I didn't make a board because it was mostly a podcast week. Who are these goofballs?
That's them now.
Symphony in
They're
Peril?
old. They're old.
Oh yeah, okay. I guess I recognize
So
him.
old. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, cool. Symphony in Peril. Josh is
Are they
lame.
doing anything though? I saw they put out like
We'll
a
talk about it.
single a
We'll
year
talk about
ago.
it. We'll talk about it. We'll
I
talk
want his
about it.
shirt.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk. Doom?
Yeah. Oh, it says
Doom.
boom.
I was say boom.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
it's
an
the
Evil
boomstick.
Dead shirt. Yeah.
Nice. You want it even more now, don't you?
Yes, I really do.
Nice. Did you
What's
ever listen to
happening?
Armored Sleep?
Yeah. I've never listened
So,
to the Rain Museum though.
so that's a brand new one that came out, I think, last year, and I didn't know that they were back putting out new music. But then I saw that they were playing at Furnace Fest, and I thought, okay, I want to check them out. I'm gonna see, what's their story. Are they just getting back together just to tour, or are they actually gonna make some
Cash in on the
music?
hype.
Or are they just gonna be like Maylene and the Sons of Disaster and just do whatever they want? But yeah, they put out this Rain Museum, and it's actually a really good album, I thought. And I wasn't a big fan of like their last couple of albums because I just kind of felt like back in the day they just kind of had the same pattern for all their songs.
Yeah.
Sad boy vibes. I've lost somebody and I'm depressed.
I mean,
Whatever.
I was into uh those first two albums for sure.
The first two were good. They started losing me though on some of the songs on the second album, and then the third one, I was just like, okay, I've heard this story before. But yeah, but anyway, listening to the Rain Museum, really good. Check it out. And then, it's only natural to go back to their debut album, Josh, and listen to that gold record. So yeah, had a nice little nostalgia this week. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Anything else, Josh, you got before we get into this episode?
Um, I don't think so.
Okay, I got a
I
question for you.
There
Go
was
ahead.
only like a couple things from After Hours, and I
Oh, were
remember
you gonna
one of
say
them I
something
was
about
gonna.
Unleash the Archers?
Oh yeah. So I Eric mentions them all the time. So the last time he mentioned it on an episode, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna listen to them, see what that's about." Because I saw he said it was power power metal, but and like power metal, while epic, not really for me. It kind of gives me like Iron Maiden vibes. I mean, there's a million of those bands out there. Um, I mean, it sounded good for what they were doing. My one beef I had was there's only three of them, I think. And It sounded like there's way more going on than what three people could pull off live. Sounds like there's a couple guitars. If not, then he's like doubling himself. And then there's also some synth. But yeah, again, there's only three people, and there's definitely
there's 5 people in the
Are
band.
there? Okay.
Yeah. What album
There's
were you
only
listening to?
the most recent one,
Abyss
I think
from
2020, I think.
Napalm Records. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's 4 people on that album.
Okay.
So looks like vocals, guitars, and drums. So I'm sure one of them. Session bassist. So technically, there's 5 people on that album. Hey, Francisco Farini from Flesh God Apocalypse is on Afterlife.
Nice.
Nice.
You know my rule, Curtis. If I hear synth, I better see somebody on that stage behind a keyboard.
Oh, okay.
And they better be a member of the band. They better not be some touring
No.
Unleash the Archers
Schmo
wannabe.
Joe.
Yeah.
Okay. Just the
So
merch guy.
That's my rule it's a very hard and fast rule with the keyboards. If I hear some keyboards in there, I better look and see that there's a keyboard, a guy on keys in your lineup. So
yeah. Okay.
But yeah, they're good, The only other thing I was gonna say is give up on Maylene, my friend. Give it up.
I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up.
You're gonna be happier for it.
It's been a year, but I'm not giving up.
Just let go, Curtis. Just let go.
Nope.
Just cherish the time that we had with them and enjoy
Oh, we had a great time, man. We had
those
a great
first
time.
Albums, but do not trust to hope, my friend. It has forsaken these lands.
But here's the other thing too, and I've told you before. It's like even if they do put out an album, even if they end up doing 5, you know how cautious I'm going to be going into that one. Be tiptoe. I'm going to be army crawling.
I don't even know if I could bring myself to listen to it.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean,
sometimes you just shouldn't,
No, you should.
I'll never look at Alexis on Fire the same.
That was just weird. I don't know. Question for you, Josh.
Okay.
Are you hungry?
Yeah.
Do you like
always
bread?
Hungry. Yeah, I like bread.
Do you like sandwiches?
I do enjoy a sandwich.
Do you like bread sandwiches?
Yes.
Do I have the bread sandwich for you? And this is one of those bread sandwiches where you get one loaf. No, not one loaf. One slice of bread, excuse me. One slice of bread. You cut it in half. You fold one half over, and you get a half a bread sandwich. Because that's what Symphony in Peril is. A half bread sandwich.
A half bread sandwich.
Yep.
Everybody loves a half bread sandwich.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's a nice little snack filling. On the go. No, but it's a nice little snack on the go, you need it. Today we are looking at the band known as Symphony in Peril under the genre of metalcore, Christian metal, and thrash metal. Do you agree, Josh?
I agree. Concur.
Do you concur? Do you concur? Formed in 2002 in Columbus, Ohio by former Zayo vocalist Sean Jonas. Sean, if you remember, left Zayo after their sophomore album, the Splinter Shards, Birth, the Separation, whatever. The album that made no sense, basically, in the title. But he left Zayo at that time. He ended up becoming a youth pastor. But now, Josh, in 2002, he had a yearning, a burning inside, deep inside of him. He said, I want to start a new band. I want to get back on that metalcore scene. Here we go.
I think
yes.
He just didn't want to be in a band with Jesse, probably, right? I mean...
Yeah, that's kind of...
Especially after watching the doc.
Yeah, I was going to say,
it kind of just seems like he wanted to do that, but he just didn't want to be in a band with Jesse.
Yeah. Would you want to be in a band with Jesse?
No.
Me either.
Maybe early on, maybe.
Yeah, early on before, things
He's just
start
like
really.
super passionate about it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, he's back on the scene like he never left. Here's your first official lineup, Josh, for Symphony in Peril. You have Sean Jonas on vocals, Andy Reef on guitar, Jeremy Hunt on guitar, Joshua Aronofsky on bass, and Joshua Hunt on drums. But just as soon as the band got started getting some traction, the lineup would change. Could you believe that, Josh?
What?
Instability already. Joshua Hunt would be replaced by Sean Siepel on drums, while Joshua Aronofsky would slide over onto the vacant guitar spot left by Jeremy Hunt. In taking that vacant bass spot would be Tim Stevenson. So now here's your newest lineup, Josh. Sean Jonas on vocals, Andy Reef on guitar, Joshua Aronofsky on guitar, Tim Stevenson on bass, and Sean Siepel on drums. Thank God he was on mute.
They haven't even done anything. They haven't even put anything out yet. They're already changing the lineup a bunch.
Yes.
It's a bad sign.
Now, with this new lineup, the band Josh would record and release a 2-track demo in 2002 to show off their talents. After the release of the demo, short-term bassist Tim Stevenson would be replaced by Colin Simula on bass.
What
Boy, we are
hell?
just off to a great start here, people. How many is that? That's like what, two brand new people? Yeah, 2 brand new people. No, 3 brand new people. I don't even know. I've already lost track. That's how many there's already
They're
been.
all new. This band just started.
Oh, man. Josh, thanks to their demo tape in the background of Sean Jonas speaking, I like that facial expression there. Oh, man. Okay. Thanks to their demo tape and the background of Sean Jonas once being the vocalist for Zayo, on their first 2 full-length albums, the band would garner the attention of Face Down Records, which released their debut album, 2003's Lost Memoirs and Faded Pictures from Face Down Records. If you remember Face Down Records, we talked about them on the Comeback Kid episode. They gave Comeback Kid their first start. But on Lost Memoirs and Faded Pictures, it was produced by Doug White. Josh is the only album for drummer Sean Siepel. Shocking, right? Shocking.
I mean,
John,
hey, he's the drummer for 50% of their albums.
True. This is true. John Allurson from AllMusic.com writes in his review on Lost Memoirs and Faded Pictures, ex-Zayo frontman Sean Jonas rises from the ashes like a phoenix of that well-regarded metalcore troupe with his new outfit, Symphony in Peril. Jonas is still driven by the Christian beliefs of his former band if the lyrics to fast, riff-heavy assaults like Shadow Over a Bleeding Heart and Unsteady Docks Along the Ohio are any indication. Excuse me. With his deep death metal growl, it often seems ironic that Jonas is a Bible-thumping youth pastor by day, but his group at times indeed rivals the extremities of Dillinger Escape Plan. At the other end of the spectrum, Symphony's optimistic, uplifting side permeates mid-album numbers like Letting Go Would Be an End and Beauty Forgotten. While music this intense isn't for everybody, fans of secular, metal-infused hardcore that balances brutality with melody have found an album to clutch onto. Songs on this album include Shadow Over a Bleeding Heart, Letting Go Would Be an End, The Quotidian Succession, Sifting Through the Ashes, Beauty Forgotten, Lament, Unsteady Docks Along the Ohio, Portrait, 3 Months, and the final track with a hidden track at the very end of it, Can One Possess Autumn? I forgot to ask you, Josh, and because I think I know what the answer is, but what was your introduction to this band, Symphony in Peril?
I think just by association to Zayo.
Really? Okay.
And
Mine. Go ahead.
Well, and I don't even remember like really the first time I listened to them. Um, obviously you talked about the song from their second album that's from those hardcore drive-by videos.
That's how I got into them or found out about them, whatever.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's just one of those bands that like you'd hear around, like within the genre, if you're just listening to um Zayo, like that was probably what popped up next.
Right.
But yeah, I don't even remember exactly when, because I don't even think I realized that that was them.
In that video.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you think about their debut album, Josh?
It checks all the boxes.
Does it? Okay.
I feel like I prefer this album over the other one. I think they're both
Yeah.
good. But I prefer this one.
Okay.
I think a lot of the things that I didn't like about Scott, right? Is that his name? What's his
Sean,
name?
Sean,
Sean.
Sean.
A lot of things that I didn't like about Sean, and nothing personally, it was just about the music, was that he was too on the nose with everything in
I was gonna
his
ask you. Yeah, I was gonna
lyrics and his
ask you about
vocals.
that. Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with the message. It's literally just like a problem with the nuance, Um, you gotta. It takes a lighter hand, I feel like.
Yeah.
um it almost gets into that weird territory where you were talking about, where it's like, okay, is this a sermon, or is this music with a message? And they're
Yeah.
different, they're different.
Well, and my thing
So
too is like with like a band like this and with him, it's like if you yeah, to me there's a fine line between being preachy and delivering a sermon and just doing music and just, kind of putting your beliefs in there, but not like hardcore in your face down your throat. But like some of the things I like is like if you're kind of like light about it in your lyrics, it almost makes you question like it to me, like it gets me intrigued more and it makes me want to like dive more into the lyrics and figure out, more about like what he's trying to talk about instead of just like straight up, you know, screaming the Lord's name and everything like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's well, I know what he's about then. You know what I mean?
right.
I like a
Yeah, I
little
feel you.
more there's a word I'm looking for, but I can't think of it.
Subtlety.
Yeah, like kind of a subtle message. Because like I says, like I wanna be able to go in there. Like I want to be like hooked by it and just be like intrigued, be like, okay, what is this? I want to learn more about like what's the story behind the song, or whatever, and dive deeper into the lyrics and like try to look in between the lines rather than just being like right there.
Yeah.
So
And I feel like in Symphony in Peril, he's done exactly that. Like
yes, yeah,
it's a lot of undertones.
yes, yeah,
So that definitely was my biggest beef with him, I think, in Zayo. So
yeah,
that covered. He's cleaned up his vocals a
check.
lot. He's just a better vocalist now.
Yes, nice
Um,
range all over.
vocals and a lot of the breakdowns that they use are classic,
Mm-hmm.
early 2000s hardcore and metalcore. So yeah, this album is great. Um, even though there's only two albums, and honestly, man, I don't even mind if there's only two albums. It kind of leaves me like, oh man, I could go for another,
Yeah,
Like
I agree
we
with
talk
that.
about bands all the time where they put out so many albums that by the last couple you're like, God, like I don't even
This
want to
stopped a
know
long
that
time
these
ago.
exist. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Okay.
They did it.
Cool.
Um,
They did it.
couple short albums and they got out.
Yeah. Smart playing the short game. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, personally, I felt like it was a little bit of a rough start. at the beginning of the album, but I felt like they ended it strong with the last couple of songs, in my opinion. And then at times, like I question whether they were going for like more of a modern Zayo sound, which at this time is 2003. I just kind of wonder like how much he's trying to carry over from his time in Zayo over into this band,
Yeah.
besides just the beliefs, lyrically and everything like that. Which again, we talked about. He cleaned it up and made it a little more subtle than what it used to be from Zayo. Yeah, so that's what I think about it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed both these albums. I'm with you. I like this one a little more than the next one. Yeah, I like the the album artwork doesn't scare me as much as the next one.
We got to leave all this in so people are like, what did they cut out?
Well, this is what it's gonna be. I'd be like, yeah, I like the album artwork more on this one. All right, let's talk about 2005. What the? No, anyway. So moving on here.
I don't care for the next album cover.
It's just
and
weird.
For me, it's just like it looks like this looks like it could be a cover of Bring Me the Horizon's New Garbage. Like I don't know, there's just like something about it that it doesn't sit well with me. I feel like I would see this album cover with either a band that is tacky or has gotten tacky.
Okay. Interesting. Well, before we get to that album, Josh, Sean Seipel on drums would be replaced by current bassist Colin Stimula, who would move over to drums. So there's a lot of like moving around within the band too, which is kind of interesting.
That
a lot
of
guys who can play. Yeah, I say guys who can play a lot of different instruments. Kind of interesting. Andy Richardson would join the band as the new bassist in that vacant spot. With the release of their first full-length album, the band would see extensive touring in the States and abroad, while also playing at festivals such as Sunshine and Cornerstone. Classic Cornerstone.
Classic.
Yes. Ready to follow up their debut album, the band would return to the studio for their sophomore album, 2005's The Whore's Trophy from Face Down Records. Here's your little Zayo connection, Josh. This album was produced by Eric Rachel, who has done work with Zayo on a lot of their albums. Specifically, some of their newer ones are kind of in the middle discography to kind of newer. The basis of this album revolves around Revelation 17 from the Bible, entitled Babylon the Prostitute on the Beast. Max Deneau of Exclaim.com wrote in a review of the album, quote, "Those interested in Symphony In Peril expecting Sean Jonas to repeat his vocal performance on Zayo's seminal The Splinter Shards, The Birth of Separation, will be sorely disappointed. In fact, his style has shifted almost completely, abandoning his higher screeching range for a more focused growl akin to Hatebreed's Jamie Josta, and occasionally approaching death metal. His support is a solid, if slightly unoriginal, metalcore band that combines the spirit of Hatebreed, Terror, and, like with the crunchier Gothenburg lace strain, good lord, pervade by Unearth and As I Lay Dying. Breakdowns abound, and the prerequisite slower, contemplative tracks drenched in vocal effects make their predictable appearance. What sets Symphony apart is their knack for structure. Not a moment sounds forced, and the album flows effortlessly. There's the occasional lackluster groove or unnecessary section, but they are few and far between. Unfortunately, the album ends on its weakest track, hindering the overall effect of a record that is otherwise well composed. All complaints aside, the Horse Trophy stands well above the increasingly vast competition and is one of the strongest offerings from Face Down yet. Songs on this album include the opening acoustic intro track, Paralandra, For Now We See in a Mirror, Dimly, but then Face to Face. Ooh, that's a nice little track name there. Pretty interesting. You also have Stiletto, Seduction by Design, the instrumental track, and She Was Drunk with the Blood of the Saints, Revolving Door Romance, The Horse Trophy 1, The Horse Trophy 2, Waiting to Breathe, This Flame Breeds Disbelief, Inherent Scars, and the finale, Aborting the Fabricated. Josh, besides the album artwork, which you've already talked about, what else do you like or dislike about 2005's The Horse Trophy?
The only thing that I think makes the first one stand out a little bit more to me is just it's a little bit more raw. This is a little bit more polished, and for a band like that, it almost just doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't hit the same way.
I agree. Wholeheartedly.
This album feels like bleeding through. Like that's what the production like feels like.
Okay.
So I don't know. It's still a good album. We always talk about Stiletto.
I was gonna say, is there any other song besides Stiletto that really pops out to you?
The second track, For Now We See in a Mirror, I like that one. I like all of them. They just don't, I don't know, they don't really jump out. Like there's more standout tracks to me on the first album.
Yeah.
So I didn't, and I mean, just listening to this one through, there are like a couple of points where I was just like, "Oh yeah, that's a sick breakdown." But yeah, I mean, they all kind of run together on this one.
Get that. All I could think when you just made that noise, all I could think of was that Christian Bale meme. I think it's from American Psycho when he's like, "Yeah,
Oh yeah,
ooh, yeah." Yeah. One thing that I have a beef with is like if you're gonna do an intro track like that, like it needs to tie into the next song.
yeah.
It's so weird to me that like I like it. I like the intro track, but like to me it's like it's rising, you're coming up, but then it's like once it ends, it's like I feel like you fall flat on your face and they have to restart all over again because there's like no ties to the second song at all. So it's like, well, what was the point of that? You'd probably just been better off just throwing out Paralandra and just starting off on For Now We See in a Mirror,
Yeah, that is a really
So
awkward transition.
I would have liked to see a nicer bridge between the two there. I really did like musically I called it kind of an ascent on the Horse Trophy 2. It just kind of feels like that track kind of builds. I don't know, I just kind of picture just kind of a pew. I don't know. But I really like that one. And then of course, like we both said, the classic track, Stiletto. Can't go wrong with that one. Dun, 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 dun.
Well, I mean, that main guitar line in Horse Trophy 2 is just over and over and over that building riff. It's like either a full step or a half step up every time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely has that feeling.
I like that.
The beginning of it makes me think of though.
What's that?
Go Into the Water by Death Clock.
I don't know that one.
It starts kind of like that.
Go in the water.
Yeah, just super super epic build there in the beginning.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, they take kind of a different turn in this album. There's like points in it that feel like kind of like that, like musically epic, like something. I hate to compare them to Death Clock, but so they kind of like that,
Yeah,
power metal but not really.
but
it's
still
just
staying in the metalcore. Yeah,
it's just those mainly like sustained power chords,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, this album is just kind of all over the place. Whereas the first one, you really felt that you felt metalcore, hardcore. This album has some tracks that kind of sound like Bleeding Through, some tracks that kind of sound like they were saying As I Lay Dying, some that kind of sound a little power metal-y. So I don't know. I would have liked to see a little bit more consistency like in the first album. I think especially within their genre. I mean, that's your bread and butter.
Right,
Why
exactly. Why
are
change that?
we yeah. So
Well, and you had
and
success from your first albums. Was like, yeah, why? I mean, you're on your sophomore album. Why change the pattern now? I understand, like if you're on like your fourth or fifth, and you start, well, we kind of want to experiment. That's one thing, but you're still way early in your career.
you're defining your
Yeah,
sound.
yeah. So, yeah.
I don't know. I still liked this album. I mean, I listened
Yeah.
to it all the way through a couple times. Still a good album. Would have been
With the
interesting to see where a third album would have gone.
yeah,
If they would have leaned more into this, or if they would have fallen back a little bit on their early stuff.
yeah. For me, with these two albums, I like both of them, and I like Symphony in Peril, but they just don't stand out to me. Of course, at the same time, you probably like, well, they only had two albums, Curtis, but it's like they just don't really stand out. Even for as much as I like these two albums, they just don't stand out to me in the metalcore genre,
The first
which
one
is sad
does
because it's
for
good.
me. The first one does for me. The first one is like, I don't know. I could see that first album like being in my rotation.
Yeah.
Um, I just gotta, yeah, I don't know. It has that it factor, and this one does not.
Well, like you said, it checked all the boxes for you, you
Yeah,
know. So cool.
this one's kind of playing with some different things. So
Anything else on 2005, the Horse Trophy, Josh?
I don't think so. We were talking about the intros to songs. I do really like the intro for Waiting to Breathe.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. That's a good one. That is a good one. Just a month after the release of their newest album, Sean Jonas would leave the band. You started the band.
this guy,
This guy,
this
man.
fucking guy.
The rest of the members would be left without a vocalist for a few months until John Pop, former vocalist of the Ohio-based Narcissus, Ohio band Narcissus, joined in June. But by October of that same year, the band announced that they would be parting ways following a few farewell shows. Now, fast forwarding, Josh, yeah, goodbye. Fast forward 17 years in October of 2022. Whoa! Original vocalist Sean Jonas would restart the band along with former bassist, now turned guitar, Andy Caps.
So that's a child's whole life. 17 years. 17 years later.
Yep. Let's see, 2000 and what was that? 2005 is when that album came out. I was in middle school. And now they've come back. And I am a man.
A sophomore.
Nice. Yep. So they are getting it back together. The duo from the Horse Trophy era would add new bandmates Dan Pelletier on guitar, Chico Weeks on bass, and Josh King on drums.
Why does that name sound familiar to me? Dan
Josh
Pelletier.
King? I don't know. I seen some of like the bands that these other guys have been in, but I didn't recognize any of them. Maybe you would, though. I don't know. Quickly in the same month that the band restarted, they released a new single entitled Authored Confusion. Short tours would follow over the course of the next year, as well as a second single entitled The Truth That Binds. Did you get to listen to either one of those, Josh?
No, I don't typically like to listen to the singles.
We've been burned People, we've been burned. Specifically, Alexis on Fire. We have been burned.
Well, it's just, I don't know. They're usually disappointing. And I want to hear a song in the context of an album. I don't like one offs. I don't even really like to put my phone on shuffle. Okay. Like I like to, I like to listen to an album all together.
You know what? Why I put the only time I put my phone on shuffle is if I have no clue what I want to listen to and I just need something to like pop up and be like, okay, yeah, I feel like that. I feel like that. And then I'll
Yeah.
usually like go to that artist or whatever. It's a roulette. That's what it is. It's a music
Yeah.
roulette.
I feel like most people though are just like playlist and shuffle people.
That's what most people are, yeah.
Yeah. Terrible.
What's
It's a
wrong with
terrible
people?
way to live.
Listen
Why
to a
do
whole
that to
album.
yourself? You could be living so much better.
When you listen to, some of the popular people that are out there now, like a Taylor Swift, I mean,
You don't have to hurt yourself anymore. You don't have to do this.
who wants to listen to a whole album by Taylor Swift? I mean,
I would still bet it's better in the context of an entire album
that's what
than a
I'm, but that's
single
what,
by
no, no, no,
itself.
that's what I'm saying though, is like, yeah, I don't know.
I would rather listen to an entire Taylor Swift album than just a single. I will say that right now.
Hey, Josh, do I have some news for you?
What?
Currently, the band is getting ready to release their third full-length album.
What?
Tentatively set for 2024. What do you think about
full
that?
length.
A full length, bro. They're not going all mailing. They said, screw that. We're making a full length album.
I'm going to listen to it. I am kind of feeling this single for Authored Confusion.
Okay. Yeah, I'm interested to hear what it's going to sound like.
Yeah, hopefully I don't want to see this song on the album, but I would like to if this is an indication of where we're going. This is pretty damn heavy. This has got it's got some early impending doom stank to it.
So smell that. Ugh. Okay, so you just said you don't want to see this song on that album? So if you have to deal with singles, is that how you would like it though? Where it's like, I would rather just have a single that's not on the album. That's not going to be on the upcoming album. I would prefer that
singles are a one-off.
Okay.
Too many times, man, a band puts out like 5 singles before an album even comes out. And it's like, well, there's half the album there, maybe more, because we don't make albums anymore with 13 to 15 tracks. Everything has like 8 or 9 tracks on it.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's currently where we sit with the band. I had one more note, Josh, and I just kind of found it interesting.
I am stoked for that. I'm going to be keeping an eye out for that.
Yes. Yep. Mike. Okay, how do you say? I can never remember how to say this guy's name. It's the guy from The Devil Wears Prada. Is it Mike Ronica, or because you don't say the H, right?
I don't think so.
Okay, I didn't think you did, but
how's it spelled?
Hranica. Ranica?
I think it's Ranica or Ranica. I don't know.
Anyway, Mike.
Oh, Mike.
Mike from The Devil Wears Prada was talking some influences for their band. I had found this link when I just looked up Symphony In Peril on Google, and this link came up. It was a Facebook video where I guess he was giving off like the band's top 10 like influences. Zayo was one of them. But I was kind of surprised to hear him say that Symphony In Peril was one of them. I just didn't think Symphony was that big of a band,
Well, it's a small
genre.
Especially back then, it's a small genre, man.
Yeah.
Like, and Devil Wears Prada used to be at least a little bit more Christian based,
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know. Yeah, I think it makes sense because, like I said, I mean, that genre was so small back then.
Yeah. But anyway, I just kind of found that one kind of interesting. Thought I'd share that with you. It's
still small now, but it's a small community,
Yeah. Final thoughts, Josh, on Symphony in Peril. Out of the two albums, which one would you suggest as the starter for a new listener? The first one, the first one.
Yeah, I think the second one is probably
I mean,
it's
you
the
really
it's
only
the
have
more
two choices.
commercial one in my head,
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the
I can
more
see that.
commercial album is always the more accessible, I think.
True.
Um,
That
but
was
yeah, I
more of a
mean
just joke, though. But
if you're into dirty
stanky,
early 2000s
if you're a
hardcore
dirty,
metalcore,
dirty person.
very unpolished, then you're gonna want to check out that first album. But um, I'm just after listening to that single, actually, I'm kind of excited to see what this next album might sound like if they're keeping consistent with that sound.
Right. Yeah. Stay
That sounds
tuned.
brutal as hell.
We will make our way back around and we'll give our opinion on that album. An album review. Yay. Yeah.
Yay.
Yay. Alrighty. Yeah, it's a good band. Go check them out. Columbus, Ohio,
Ooh,
Symphony in Peril. Ooh.
I think we might be in a good place for this next album. It looks like they did not use a label when putting out the single. They put it out themselves.
Maybe they put that out though to shop for a label though.
Could be. I want to check their other single. Yeah, their other single says that was self-done too.
And that was just like within the last couple of, no, let's see. Was that last year? Yeah, I don't remember.
And they
Can't
could be
really
shot.
tell.
Oh, it says this year.
Oh, this year,
Um,
okay.
yeah, it says. I mean, they could be shopping, like you said, but that's at least a little bit of hope
A
that
little
they
bit of
might
hope
be
here.
doing one on their own here.
Well, and here's the other thing too. Even if they end up having a record label tied to the band, they're tied to the album. It doesn't mean that they're signed to them. Sometimes you sign up with these record labels just to distribute. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah,
still doing all the stuff yourself, but you're just needing somebody that can do the marketing for you.
yeah.
So I don't know. I think at that point you would probably see like a really smaller name though, record label wise.
What was the Zayo album that they did on their own?
Well they did. So they put out Virus and Corridor on their own label.
Okay, yep.
So everything from Virus all the way to now they've put out on their own label on their own
Okay.
terms.
I
And maybe
mean,
that's what they'll do here.
it's got a better sound. It's got a better
Yeah.
sound. We're gonna have to do an episode on Arsonist Get All the Girls, and God, Curtis, when you get to listen to the color, it is just like worlds and away their best album. And they've got some great ones before that, but it is just chef's kiss.
Delicious. Cool. Yeah, it's coming sooner or later. Next year. Next year, because the meeting for this year has already been set. And yeah, there's no
Just
room.
no
There's just no
time.
room. So next year, in 2024, in the future. All right. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at A Survive by Pro for news and the latest episode postings, not just on this show, but our other shows as well. You have the History of the Course After Hours podcast. We had a preview at the beginning of this episode from our recent episode of that podcast. That's where I sit down with my good friend and avid listener, Eric. We talk about the bands that me and Josh have already talked about. We also have the Red Right Hand podcast, which has covered all 6 seasons and then some of Peaky Blinders. Sooner or later, that movie's got to come out, Josh. They can't hide it
One day.
forever. And then you have the Throne of the Dragon podcast, which so far has covered season 1, soon to be season 2 coming out next year. But currently we are in a Targaryen family history tree thing episodes. It's a tree.
We're going chapter by chapter in Fire and Blood. That's the easiest way to say that.
Oh boy. And while you're on Twitter, make sure to follow my co-host at Joshua Lynn Gary. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. And if you want to listen to us and see our smiling faces, head on over to our YouTube page. Just search Is Survived by Productions. And that'll have every episode from all of our shows. Subscribe to the channel. Thumbs up the video. All right. We'll see you in the next episode, Josh, where we'll talk about the band from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The city of brotherly love. Yay! I don't think there's a lot of love over there, though. But, yeah, we're going to talk about the band A Life Once Lost. Until then, we'll see ya. Signing off.